Hi, this is a video tutorial on outcome 2 of the Craft Maths for calculating areas, perimeters, volumes, surface areas of simple shapes. Everything on this page here are the formulae you're required to know within the assessment. The one at the very bottom is the only one given to you, so you have to know these off by heart. However, quite a few you will know from your school days, such as to find the area of the rectangle, its length times breadth. Or to find the perimeter of the rectangle, you add the two lengths and the two breadths together. The area of a circle is pi times radius squared. The perimeter of a circle is called circumference, c equals pi d. For those that might have forgotten, pi is a very special number in maths. It's represented by a symbol and it's approximately 3.14. On your calculator, it's hidden in that science button that we've been using all these months. So that science button down at the top bottom, if you look just above it at the left hand side, in a kind of orangey buffy colour, is a pi button. If you hit the shift button in the science button, you'll get that pi symbol up. If you hit equals, you'll just see that. You have to hit S and D to get it as the decimal number. We should always use the pi button in calculations. We have to work out the surface area of a cuboid. That'll be explained further on. There's your formula. You probably know the volume of a cuboid, a box, is length times width times height. And a cylinder, you may know the volume is pi r squared h. That's the only one given to you in the assessment. We also have to know the curved surface area. It's another one I'll explain later on. So, let's go back to what everything is. What is perimeter of a shape? Perimeter is all outside edges added together. So all outer edges added together. That could be a triangle, or it could be the archway of someone's door at their house. A circle's got a special name for its perimeter that I mentioned earlier. It's called the circumference. And that's referring to the rounded edge on the outside. Area refers to how many squares makes up a shape, hence why the units are squared. Different shapes have got different formulae to calculate area. Rectangle is length times breadth. For square, a lot of you might say, is it not the same thing? Yeah, it is, but hopefully remember a square is length times length, it's the same value. However, length times breadth will get you by perfectly fine. The area of a triangle, specifically a right angled triangle, is a half times the base times the height. That's because it's half of a rectangle. And the area of a circle is equal to pi times the radius squared. Now radius, in case anyone's forgotten, is the line that goes from the centre of a circle to the outside. It's your half line within the circle. Diameter is the one that goes straight across the circle. So, if we want to calculate the perimeter of this shape, it's a rectangle. The sides are 20, 20, 15 and 15. So you've got two 20s. You've got two 15s, so together this length would be 70 and the units millimetres. Don't think at this point we're telling you anything that you'd be unlikely to have known. It's always worth a recap. To calculate the length of the edge of this shape, we have to recognise it's a circle. This curved edge is called circumference, and circumference is equal to pi times diameter. Pi is that button in the calculator. We put in the multiplication sign. That's going from the centre to the outside. Right now that's the radius. The diameter is the full thing across, so it's double that of 18. Popping it in our calculator. Again, shift signs button to get your pi. Multiply 18, giving us 56.55 if we round. And the reason for that is the 8 at the end. This is in millimetres, It's just a length, so the units would stay millimetres. To calculate the outside length of this shape, it's a circle. Circumference equals pi times diameter. The diameter is the line all the way across the circle going through the centre. So we've got that this time, of 28. Popping it in our calculator, again, shift science button to get pi, times 28, giving us 87.96 if we round. This time the units are centimetres. To calculate the area of this shape, we have to realise it's asking for area. It's a rectangle. The area of a rectangle is equal to length times breadth, which is 8 times 5, although it doesn't matter what way round you do a multiplication sum, the answer's still 40. The units here are still millimetres, but all areas are squared. To calculate the area of this shape, we have to recognise again its area. It's a circle. Area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Pi is a special button for our calculator number of 3.14159. R is your half line going from the centre to the outside. That's the diameter. So if we half that, we get 7.5. That is going to be squared in our calculation. Popping that in the calculator, shift science button to get pi, multiply by 7.5, the squared button, gives us 176.71 when we round. And again, because the 4 at the end doesn't have the power to round up, this time it's stuck back to centimetres, but it's an area. All areas should be squared. We can then put these shapes together. A composite shape is where you've got more than one shape together, such as an L shape. So that's what a composite shape is. More than one shape joined together. What does it mean for perimeter? It means you only count, as we said already, any lines on the edge. So it's still the outer edges added. Ignore any lines on the inside of the shape, it's the outside. What does it mean for area? We've got to split into shapes we know. And by splitting into shapes we know, we do separate calculations and add them together. So here's an example. Calculate the perimeter of this shape. Perimeter, that's the outside edge. If you were a wee person walking around this shape, you'd walk along 72 first. Then you'd walk around this curved edge. Then you'd walk another 72 and then up 35. You do nothing with that line in the middle. So we have to work out this curved line. It's a half circle. It's circumference. If the circumference of a circle is equal to pi times diameter, for a half circle, all we need to do is add a half into the formula. So we'd have a half multiplied by pi. The diameter here is written at the left side, the 35. And popping that in the calculator, it's up to you whether you're doing a half as a fraction, a half using divide, or 0.5. They're all the same thing. Again, shift science button to get pi. 35 tells us that the circumference of that circle, the half circle, is 54.98 when we round. The question though asks for the perimeter. The perimeter is that number that we've just worked out, the 54.98, plus the 72 across the top, plus the 72 across the bottom, plus the 35 up and down the way at the left. if we add all of that together, we'll work out the perimeter of this shape. Giving us 233.9 and 8. We still need units, they're important. This question was all about millimetres, so we round it to the 233.98 millimetres. So that's our first composite shape, and it said perimeter. It could, however, have asked you to find the area of the shape. Area is a different thing entirely. We have to split it into the rectangle and half circle here. So to find the area of the rectangle, it's length times breadth. So that would be your 0.9 multiplied by the 1.5. Giving us 1.35. We have to find the area of the half circle. If the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared, we can use the same logic as our previous example, and because it is a half, we can stick a half at the front. So for us, our sum becomes a half multiplied by pi. This 0.9 is the diameter of the shape, so the radius is half of that. Half of 0.9 is 0.415. And if we pop this in the calculator, we'll get our full answer to the half circle shape. Which is 0.71 if we stick to rounding to our 2 decimal places. But what we want is the total area. This shape consists of the rectangle and your semicircle, your half circle. So to get the total, we'd have to take the answer for the rectangle shape and add our answer for our half circle shape together. So our 1.3 and 5, we add to our 0.7 and 1, giving the total area of 2.06. Again, we need units. This question is asking us to measure it in metres, but it's an area, so it would be metres squared.